I was in a lot of debt because I hit my credit card limit. Okay, I think I probably spent like $5,000 on tires.
How do you spend $5,000 on tires?
Okay, maybe I made someone mad, but I didn't know what I did. I got my tires slashed like twice in 1 week. I tried to clean it with a Sharpie.
That same amount of money that you would have saved on 1 year will be worth $120,000. And you've spent already this year over $1,000 on nothing. Nothing. Welcome to Finance Action. My name is Romain, and together we'll dive into someone's personal finances, learning from their stories and taking action for their financial future. Follow me as we discover the story of Elena. Elena, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So let's briefly look at your profile. You are 25 years old. You're originally from Ukraine, currently live in Seattle, and you work as a full-time entrepreneur as an hairstylist.
That's correct.
Okay. So let's briefly look at the way you've ranked your finance perception from chilling to Mayday. You've put yourself as yikes.
Yikes.
So I want to know a little bit more here. If you can walk me through your story about why did you put yourself as this and kind of who is Elena?
I moved out of my parents' house when I was like 19 years old.
Okay.
I didn't really have a savings account. I went through a situation where I was like, oh, wow, I need money. And I didn't have savings. So then I started saving money from there. I lived away from my parents for like 2 years. And then I ended up going through a lot. So I moved back home and I was in a lot of debt because I hit my credit card limit and it just kind of felt like everything was tackling me. So I got a second job just to finish paying it off, my credit debt, like faster. And I also had a dream of buying a new car.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I worked like 2 jobs for probably like 2 years. And that's how I got back on my feet. And then everything was going like smooth sailing. But then when I opened up my own business, I actually had a really good like 2 months, especially
Nice.
my first month. They went very well. My third month was a little slower and I just decided to go out a little more than I typically would. And then I was having some car troubles, like with my tires. So I spent, I think I probably spent like $5,000 on tires.
$5,000 on tires?
Just on tires, yeah. And that's where it like threw me off. And then and then it was Christmas time.
So hold on. $5,000 on tires. What do you mean by that? How is that
Oh my
possible? So
gosh.
you have a car, right?
Yes.
How do you spend $5,000 on tires?
Oh my gosh. Okay, maybe I made someone mad, but I didn't know what I did. But I got my tires slashed. I got my tires slashed like twice in 1 week. That's when it first started. It was the week of Thanksgiving. And I was actually at work when the first one got slashed. And I was like, I didn't know, but I thought maybe it's the weather. But then I couldn't drive my car because it said 0. And then I was like, maybe I can't put some air into it. So my friend came and put my spare on it. And then
It was one tire? It was 4 tires?
It was just one tire.
Oh, okay.
And then so I had my
that's fine.
spare on, and it was also like Thanksgiving week. So I called Les Schwab the next day, and they're like, since I have an all-wheel drive car, they're like, we have to change all 4.
Oula.
But they never have like my tires in stock because they have to like order a special tire. So then I was like, okay, like go ahead and order it. And then so I was waiting, but I went to the bar one night. I was just hanging out inside the bar, and then I decided I was going to go to Seattle. And I was driving on the freeway, and my ride was like really, really bumpy, but I couldn't see the tire pressure because all my sensors were thrown off from the spare tire.
Okay.
And then so I pulled over on the freeway because I'm like, there's no road work. And I get out of my car, and my whole tire, like on the passenger's front side, was like shredded off. And
Okay.
yeah, and then I called my sister, and then I bought AAA that night because I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so they towed me to Les Schwab. So they called me in the morning, and they're like, oh, yeah, we checked out your car, and so you have to buy like all 4 new tires. And since that one tire was shredded off, it damaged the rims. So then they had me buy all new rims.
Oh, okay. There is the expense.
Yeah. And then I came to pick up my car, and I hated the rims they put on it. They didn't ask me what kind I wanted, but I was like, those are so ugly. So I was like, I don't want those. And they told me, they gave me a catalog and they're like, okay, like we can order and just price match. So then I chose out some rims that I liked and they ordered them. They said like when I come back a few days later, they'll just replace them and no additional charge as long as there's no damage.
Okay.
But of course, the night before I was supposed to return them, I curbed one of the rims. And so they made me, I tried to clean it with a Sharpie. Because I saw a TikTok on how to disguise it. But then I dropped my car off and he calls me and he's like, you've damaged one of the rims. And I was like, really?
Did you change all four? No.
No, I had to pay for that one.
Okay,
So then it went up.
Sharpie.
And then I was like, okay, whatever. This was a really expensive put down on my money. And then, no, when I went to pick up my car, he tells me, he's like, oh, like we checked out that one tire that you had, the original tire, because I didn't know anything about the second one. But the original tire, he told me there was like 2 slashes in there. And he's like, that seems aggressive. And I actually didn't know. I was like, I don't know who I made mad. I was pretty like low key. Yeah. And then my sister thought it was my ex-boyfriend because there's some drama there. But
oh, I see.
And I was like, okay, I'm just going to work a little more and pay down my credit. I was still going through my party phase. And then I was traveling. Yeah, that's how I'm here now. That's how I'm in debt. Because the tires just really threw me off.
I see, yeah. Just a little incident that, from one tire to $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to understand a little bit as well here about the story of your parents. You mentioned that your parents... you've seen them living pretty much paycheck to paycheck, right? And you were like, I don't want to be in that spot. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So my parents were like in their early 20s when they immigrated here. My dad actually started his own business doing tiles. I almost think it was just like my parents growing up with not having a lot of money and like a lot of material things. I think the money just was like so cool that they're like, oh, we can just afford anything. And then so they bought like a home and a couple new cars. Wow. And yeah, in my family, we have 6 kids.
Okay.
So everything was like going pretty smooth sailing. Like my mom was working and then my dad was working and he had his business. It was going good. But then the recession happened. And yeah, my parents had like a couple of loans on a couple of different cars and then like the mortgage loan. They just couldn't keep up with what they were making. And then my dad's business kind of didn't really do so well because he couldn't get a job. And he was kind of actually getting screwed over by some people. The banks started like taking their cars away. And then so for a couple of years, like we didn't really have a car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We only had like my dad's like big truck. And it was just kind of, it was for his work, but like you can't put 6 kids in there.
6 kids, yeah, wow.
Yeah, and so and then there was like talks about like foreclosure, and I was just a kid, but I don't know why I knew all this information.
Yeah.
But it was like, to me, ever since I was a kid, like that's what panicked me. I was like, I never want to be in debt again, and I never want to go through that because I saw like what it did like to my parents, like their relationship, and just like growing up with that, it was really tough. It's like the struggle taught me pretty good.
Okay. And then just one thing here on the car and now you find yourself in this spot.
Yes.
Okay. So with regards to income, you own your own business, as you mentioned previously. And so how much would you say you do per month, pre-tax?
Pre-tax, I would say about $5,000.
5,000. Okay. So that brings you to a yearly salary of $60,000 a year, right? Okay, so let's assume, let's look at this against the median in the United States. So the median refers to the amount at which 50% of the population does more than that amount and 50% does less. For someone in your age, between 25 and 34, the median is at $51,000. You make 60, so good job, you're above the median. Now, it's good to know that, we both live in Seattle, and Seattle is an expensive town to be in. So it's always to be taken into consideration. Looking at your yearly net, so your monthly net is about $3,500. Would you agree for that?
Yes.
Okay. And you have no other jobs right now on the side. Is that correct? Like, no other jobs than this primary source of income. Do you receive anything else?
Well, sometimes I'll do, well, I actually sell stuff like online sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, just like on OfferUp,
I see.
Facebook Marketplace. So that's kind of an income. I wouldn't say it's like a lot, but just like for fun money.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'll do kind of like side gigs. Like I worked a promo girl last year just for like this
Yeah.
club event. So it's like if somebody offers me just some project, I'll kind of look into it and see if it fits with me. And yeah, I usually get paid for those kinds of projects. So I'll kind
Okay.
of like here and there, but I wouldn't say it's like an income. It's more of just. A
So
little
if you
extra
had
money.
to estimate it maybe on a year, do you make like $1,000 out of this? 2,000?
Probably around like 2,000.
Okay. So that's an extra, let's do an extra 200 per month.
Okay.
Okay, that's coming from this. Okay, cool. So now I want to understand your assets. So here, thank you very much for sharing your statements. Let's firstly start with your checking accounts. So right now, your balance on your checkings is $63 for one, $285 for the other. But you don't really use those accounts, it appears. Is that right?
That's right.
You just literally pay your cards off those,
Yes.
pretty much. Okay. I want to tackle a second account that you've mentioned to us. You have a very solid saving account of, I mean, let's do the sum of both of almost $20,000. I mean, this is really nice. And so can you tell me about, how did you even build that saving account?
Well, I started saving because it was after I moved out of my parents' house when I was like 19 years old. I got into like a situation where I needed money urgently and I didn't have a credit card at the time. So
Okay.
I was just kind of like looking at my checkings account and I was like, wow, I don't have like money. And that's what kind of pushed me to start saving. So yeah, I started like putting like $100, $200 aside, and my savings was just like money I'm not allowed to touch. I was very strict on myself because when I first started working in high school, I was putting like $20 from each paycheck, but then
That's a
I would
start.
spend all my money, and then I knew I had a couple like
Leftover?
$20 bills saved, and I was like, whatever, like I'll just put more in next time. And but no, this time I was pretty strict on myself about that. And then so when I went through my whole situation, being moved out of my parents' house, and then I moved back in, and I actually had like a couple of grand saved, but I wouldn't say it was that much. And then so, yeah, it was like when I was working 2 jobs, I made sure to I made a list of like my spending, and I was keeping track of how much money I was making, how much I
Very
was
nice.
spending, and put savings on there. I wrote it all down, and I was like, I have to save this much. And so I started saving from there, and I haven't touched that money for years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And kudos to you. Those were very good
Thank you.
behaviors. So you have about 20 grand here,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll come back to those. Looking at some of your stock options, you have some stocks, don't you?
I do, yes.
Okay. And so how much would you say you have on average, pretty much?
Maybe it's like 2,500.
2,500?
about.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And it's a fairly diversified position. It's like you're into crypto and so on, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say those are fairly safe positions, or you're not really sure?
I think they're pretty good. I was trying to do some research because I don't really understand stocks, but I was trying to watch some like YouTube videos, Googling stuff. When I first started that, I did lose some money because
Okay.
I bought Alaska stock and then COVID happened and nobody was flying out, so it dropped.
Mhm.
And so as soon as it went up, I was like, no, I'm selling this. Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I shouldn't have.
Okay.
I feel like it was just kind of like my brain was panicked.
Yeah,
And
that's
it was like my
the
fight
spirit
or
of
flight
many.
response.
Yeah, that's the spirit of many.
So-
Yeah, it's you never lose until you sell. So I know right now for many of our viewers, including myself, some of the positions are in red. I mean, the stocks are not doing excellent. Just be mindful, be educated about your positions against what's happening in the economy. I'm not a financial advisor, but you only lose until you sell. And generally, economists tend to go in waves.
Yeah.
So during COVID on airline, of course, it went down. It's been up since. But panic sell can be tricky. But okay, I mean, I guess we learned with experience, and so did I. Yeah? So don't feel ashamed on that. Okay, cool. So here we looked a little bit at your assets. I want to look at your car. So you have a car, don't you?
I do have a car, yes.
Okay, what car do you drive?
I drive a Lexus.
Okay, a Lexus. What year is it?
It's a 2015.
Okay,
It's a IS250.
very nice. And you bought it cash?
I bought it with a loan.
Okay, you bought it
Yeah.
with a loan. Okay.
I took a loan out of the bank.
And so do you still
Or
have
finance.
payments on it?
No, I had it paid off.
Okay, that's good. How many miles does it has?
It has around 120,000 now.
Okay, 120 on a Lexus. I mean, Lexus is the premium brand of Toyota, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Toyota are generally pretty reliable, so probably gonna last you quite a bit. And you do you have any problem with it, or it's been running good for you?
No, it's been running really good. I really love it. I want to buy another one.
Yeah. Okay.
Another
We'll
Lexus.
discuss on that. Okay. So right now, actually, if we look a little bit into the value that were calculated, right now, in terms of this asset, it's about 16,500. So it's it's a pretty good amount of money.
Yeah.
Now, cars are generally not the best investment. Just so you know, this money is going to depreciate, so lose value over time, and that's natural as the car age and the number of miles too. So it's not the best investment. Sometimes you make money off cars, especially if you have classics, or if you have like prestige cars, or pretty much classics. Generally, for the most part, they tend to lose value. So overall, right now, if we look at the sum of your assets, today you have about $40,000 worth of assets.
Okay.
So
Not bad.
that's the sum of your checking, savings, and investments, as well as your car. So that's a pretty good spot to be at 25 years old in terms of assets. But now I want to bring you a little bit into some of the more tougher discussions. Your debt and your expenses. So as always, I want us to start with your needs. So for your needs, let's start with rent. You don't own a home, do you?
No.
Okay. So how much do you pay per rent per month?
I pay about like $1,500.
Okay. And you live in your own apartment?
No, I actually live with my parents.
Oh, you live with your parents, but you
Yes.
help them out pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Because I thought it was kind of weird to move back, because I was like, oh, I was paying like $1,500 for this place. Now I'm moving back in. And
Okay.
my parents don't ask for it, but I was just kind of like, it's kind of weird.
I see.
Like,
Yeah, no, you're pretty
so-
much helping them out. Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice. So at 1,500, this is about 40% of your income that goes towards your debt, your rent, sorry. Generally, we like to be at around 28%. So you're just a little bit above what you could be doing given your income. But again, I think it goes into probably your parents. They own a mortgage. It's
Yes.
a house. Okay, so it's going towards equity. That's where the fine lines comes in. But it represents a big portion of your expense for you. Okay, so I want to move up to some of the next. So car, I mean, you don't own a loan on it, but how much would you say you spend on gas?
Probably like 400.
400? Okay, you drive quite a bit, huh,
I
Elena?
do.
Okay, and with regards to insurance, you would say around
Like 160.
160?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, looking at your transportation expense, it's about 15% of your income, and we like it to be right at 15. So you
okay.
are pretty much good on your
Yay.
transportation, but again, that's because you own your car.
Yeah.
So I want to look else a little bit about the rest of your expenses, and I want to tackle the black duck. I don't know if this is the term in English, but so your credit card debt, $15,000, $15,000 worth of credit card debt at an interest rate of 28%. So let me tell you something, and I'm sure you probably know because you seem well financially literate on that front. Credit card debt is the worst type of debt you can have. No investment, else the ones that have a crazy amount of risk, where there is a great risk that you may lose your money. For the most part, it's unbeatable. You can't beat 30% return or 28% return per year. On average, the stock market, right? If you bet into the S&P 500, which is the top 500 companies in the US, and you bet on them, it's about 10% return, okay? So at 30%, almost, you're throwing money away that you don't even realize, Okay, we'll speak a little about on that later on. But here, if I look at kind of your lifestyle, you spend quite a bit of money on on shopping. I sum to about $560. On restaurant, $500. What is Cosmo Proof? I mean, I see that 96, Cosmo Proof 35, Cosmo Proof 25. What is it?
It's like beauty supplies, so it's like shampoos.
So this is for your business.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess I can take that.
Sometimes for me, but mostly for my business.
Okay. I see quite a bit of expenses for racetrack. $10, $30, $78. It's in Texas.
Oh, you know what? That was a gas station.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were traveling last month?
Yes, I went to Texas last month.
Okay.
To visit one of my friends.
Okay. And you pretty much booked all your trip on your credit card?
Yes.
I see as well that Amazon is definitely a partner to you with quite a bit of expenses on Amazon pretty often. That's
because they're fast. It's easy.
27
overnight shipping.
Okay. And then with regards to restaurant, as I mentioned, about $500. Do you feel that you constrain yourself a little bit, or you feel like you're living the high life, or are you being mindful of your spending?
I haven't been very mindful lately.
I mean, nails is very important to you, right? You spend about $100 a month of nails, and lashes, $160 a month.
Yes.
So those seems to be a kind of non-negotiable to you, right?
Yes, I don't want to give them up.
Okay. As we look into your spending, do you have currently any other debt?
No.
Okay. I now have enough information to kind of make my assessment. And so without further ado, Elena, it is time for the money case.
Spooky.
And we are back, guys, back for the money case, the biggest element on the show. All right, so Elena, in this case, I have the total amount that we've calculated that you're paying on interest per month. So with $16,000 worth of credit card debt, in 15, there is quite a bit. So you're not spending 100, not 200, not 300, but $379 a month. That, this money here, that I want you to realize that this is 10% of how much you're making. So if you work, 20 days a week, this is a couple days worth of work, 20 days a month. This is a couple days worth of work that you're literally throwing on your credit card out of expenses that you've accumulated. So all this money is literally being thrown to the garbage every month, And I want you to realize that, and I know it's sometimes a little bit shocking to see it, but it's because visualizing it sometimes makes you realize that expenses of a card are just fictional. You don't see the money leaving. But when you see and you have to take the dollar every time, I want you to realize on that front, okay? Yeah. But don't worry, there is a solution. You have great assets. We're going to leverage that up. And so let's move on to the recommendations.
Okay.
And we are back, guys, back with the recommendations for our dear friend, Elena. So, Elena, we finished the money case, but I want to bring you some perspective on this. And I think this is very important.
Right.
The amount of interest that you spend a year, if, let's say, we just take that money that right now you spend on nothing, on banks, okay? And invest it, and don't touch it after a year. Okay, you invest it, you don't touch it after a year. By the time you retire, let's say you retire at 60, that same amount of money that you would have saved on 1 year will be worth $120,000. See what I mean? That's the power and the strength of your age at 25, very young. But that's the power of compound investment. Every year, that's that's assuming a 10% return, as I mentioned previously, against the S&P 500. But that's the amount of money that you could be having by the time you retire. The best asset that you have right now, and I'm 30 years old, so I'm not too far from you, is the time. We have the chance of putting money aside that we can invest and earns the benefit for your future self. Okay. So what I want us to tackle today is how can we get you out of that debt in a smart way by leveraging your savings, your assets, and making sure that you're living a life that you're setting yourself for a good future. Okay? So similar at home, first, this is not financial advice, but similar at home, I like to organize my recommendations in terms of 3 categories. The first one is needs, okay? And we've mentioned that. Your needs is what is needed for survival. For you, right now, based on the different elements that we've discussed, and I include rent, I include phone, I include insurance, I include sometimes gas, minimum payments. Right now, your needs sum to $3,200. So that's over 85% of your income. Okay? Your basic needs, and we didn't count for your trips, we didn't account for some of those expenses here. Actually, I didn't even account for your nails or the lashes on this. This is just the amount that you need to live. And a lot of which is your credit card debt, your minimum payments, the $350. That's just thrown away for no reason. Okay. Generally, for needs, we like to recommend about 50%. 50%. Now, your income is $3,700 net per month. I will speak about some of the recommendations on that front, but it's true that at 25, you want to strike towards increasing somehow your income. Because there are some categories that you can work around, but for the most part, we were fairly frugal. It's because this credit card debt is just so strong, that we want to take care of it. Let's look at your wants. And for that, your wants is what is great to have. Okay, what is great to have. But today, if you are at the limit and you have to make a concession, you wouldn't take those with you. And as much as I know that your lashes for 160, your nails for 100 are very important, those are wants. And I've included them here, because I know they're important to you. But here, let's look at those 2 that you've ranked as needs. Your interest rate that you pay on your card is more than how much you can afford on that. Your interest is $650 or more. Your nails and lash $260. So you see where just reallocating maybe your money can help you still benefit from some of those, because I don't want to be the guy that tells you, cut everything, you're done, you're not going to eat for 6 months. That's not realistic. That's not sustainable, right? I want to have a recommendation that for you is something that you can actually apply in your life, okay? So this nails, lash are extremely important to you, and I've accounted for them in my calculation, okay?
Okay.
That means that right now, if we take out that, so your needs plus some of your wants, remaining per month, you have $150. So but you see what I mean? $150 of savings, yes, but it's not something that's going to bring you super far.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
sad.
But it's okay, again, because you have great assets. So this third category that I personally call gold is, to me, the most important category, because it's going to be your future. It's going to be, today you're living the present, it's nice, but you have to think about how you're going to be in 5 years, in 10 years, maybe when you have kids, And this gold category is either for debt or for investment. As we look into your assets, you have about $20,000 worth of savings. Emergency fund, I agree with you, is very important. It's probably one of the most important recommendations that I can make. It's about having 3 to 6 months of your needs. Your needs are 3,000 or so. So 6 months is, 6 times 3, 18. It's $18,000 that you would need to save in your emergency fund, which you have. But you have such high credit card debt. While those 18 here, I agree with you, are very important. I think we need to reassign some of that 18 money towards that credit card debt. And so I know you're very protective of that saving account, because you've encountered a situation in the past where the emergency fund, you needed that. But this credit card debt is really hurting you and hurting your ability to grow.
Yeah.
So my recommendation is as follows. I still want you to have money in your savings account, okay? I still want you to have some money. You have $20,000. What if we were to save, let's say, 2 months of expenses? okay? 2 months, meaning $6,000 in your savings. You can live off your needs for 2 months. But what does that free up? That free up $14,000 that I want you to pay back your credit card. Because that's going to change your interest drastically. And you're going to be able to elevate that $150 that we mentioned quite a bit. What's going to take is that you're going to decrease your credit card debt to about, $1,000, $1,500. You can breathe a little bit. It's going to free money for you to then pay back within 1 to 2 months. And let me tell you, Elena, in 2 months, you're debt-free. You still have 2 months worth of emergency funds that I want you to constantly invest into. Okay? It's right now, you're not in a bad spot because you have worked really hard in the past for your savings. But it's about reshuffling your money it's a time component, okay? Reshuffling your money so that you have the best outlook mathematically. Because today your outlook is, while I understand you like to see this $20,000 on your saving accounts, you're spending money on the garbage without even realizing it. Reassign that money, $14,000 back into your credit card. Yes, it's going to hurt you in the short term. This is going to hurt you in the short term, I agree. But in the long term, it's going to increase your gold category that you're going to invest. And then in a year or so, a year and a half, you're now into the investment game. You can invest into your business. You can invest into stocks. You're not going to sink into that mindset of having to consume your credit card at all time. Okay? I know this is important that you realize that in the United States, the system is built on people, as much as they earn, they can spend. Okay? And for actually, I believe it's 49% of the population that has credit card debt in the US, people then tend to spend more than they have. And then they found themselves in situations like this where, your credit card debt is very important and some people don't have savings to compensate. And then they dig themselves in a hole little by little because the interests are so high and you can't invest to have returns greater than that. And I believe that you are putting yourself in a fairly good spot if you do this. Your business generating, about $5,000 a month. I mean, as I told you, you should be fairly proud of this. I mean, it's not easy to just start as an entrepreneur and really go for it. But I really want you to use that mathematical mindset to reshuffle your money. In 2 months, you're out of credit card debt. And I really want you to think that credit card is not money. Credit card is fake functional money that if you don't have, you don't spend. If you don't have, you don't spend. And either don't use credit cards, use your checking account. So how do you feel about that? I mean, I know that saving account is kind of something you're very attached to that you want to protect. But financial-wise, emotions apart, this would be the most beneficial to you. What do you think?
I think that was deep.
Yeah.
It it makes a lot of sense because it's like if in 3 months I already paid like $1,000 just for interest for 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Just in interest. I guess like if I look at that on my savings, then I actually end up losing out on money.
You're losing. And in addition to that, you have to account for the fact that your saving account, because of inflation, the nature of inflation, which if you're not familiar with, is kind of a percentage of the cost of living increases every year. Right now, we are in a very high inflation period, which is, I believe, over 6%. So what that means is that $1,000 today, what it's going to allow you to spend on is $1,060 next year. So you're losing money if you're just leaving your money staged like this, especially when you have credit card debt on the side. What I'm saying, though, is that you always want to have some cash on the side for emergency. Yes, there are now systems. It's called high interest savings accounts. It's about 4% return. That is cash readily available. That's still invested, that helps you fight against inflation. Okay, it gives you about a 4% return when inflation grows at 6%. So you're losing a little bit of money, but you're not getting 0.5% of the bank. That's kind of. Yeah, this is kind of my recommendation to you. Your car, I wouldn't touch your car yet. Your investment accounts, I mean, it's about $3,000. Okay. Be smart about that. Maybe not right now is not the best time to sell. We are in a downturn period. Wait for things to come up a little bit. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but things are going to hopefully look better by the end of this year. I think we're still going to go down for a short period. But that's a little bit about my assessment on your case, Elena.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think that was really good information
Yeah.
for me to just look at the overall picture. And I thought I was thinking it pretty smoothly, but yeah, I'm like the briefcase.
Yeah, the
briefcase was...
And that's to visually show not just a number on the screen when you're looking at your credit card statement. It's to show the amount of money that's being spent on nothing. I'm a little bit adamant about that because it's a system that puts people in tough spots without them realizing, you know. And that's a little bit of what I'm trying to do in this show, is that making people realize that, yes, each of us have been given certain cards, but it's about how you best play your cards. And you have very strong cards on your saving. Mathematically, this is what is preferred to get you out. And then I think you're going to be allowed to breathe because you've rated yourself as yikes. You know, yikes, you're probably not feeling too well about your financial situation.
No.
You know, and finance to a certain extent should be a partner to you. People see finance as a burden, as bills and so on. And I understand that people have different experience. You know, not everybody has the same background and not everybody has the same cards. But it's important to kind of reconciliate yourself with your personal finance because ultimately they're going to allow you to live a greater life, especially when you come closer to your retirements. I mean, it's investing in your future. Well, this was a very interesting case, Elena. I love the story on the tires, I have to say. It's, yeah, that's. I'm hoping you don't get your tires anymore pierced. All right, Elena, as we wrap up our discussion today, do you have any final words for us, or how do you feel about our discussion?
I do feel a little relieved now.
Okay.
This was just like pretty eye-opening for myself, just because I guess I didn't realize where I was making a mistake, just because I was trying to make like over my minimum payment on my credit card, but then every time I check the statement, it just seems to just go up. And yeah, I guess I was like pretty strict on myself with like my savings and not touching that. But I do feel like this discussion was so informative to me. I'm feeling a little relieved now.
Okay.
Because I feel like I do believe that like I can get myself out of it, because I've just been like working hard to do that, but it just seems like I like take one step forward and then like 5 steps back, and I'm like, what is going on? But I do understand it better now. A visual representation was really good for me to see.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you.
No, of course. As always, guys, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for following us through this journey with Elena. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we see you next time. À bientôt.